What is it we do here on the Red Pill? We swap notes. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have heard all kinds of different stories about us, so I'm here to give you a glimpse inside the locker room. Who am I? I'm Ryan. I used to be one of these guys. Just like you, I was good with women and relationships, but I wasn't great at it. And when hard times hit, things got tough, and it turns out there is nowhere for a man to go to solve these problems and learn to thrive. So, we built this space based on the experiences of hundreds of thousands of men just like you. It's men swapping notes, iron sharpening iron. Welcome to the locker room. I'm a 29-year-old man. I'm almost 30. I've been spending time with my long-term relationship of 6 months due to being quarantined together. We really click, and I really like her. So as we spend more time together, I have unfortunately learned some information about her that really upsets me, and she doesn't know that I know. Specifically, when her and I were just casually dating or friends with benefits in our first month, she was also sleeping with another man. She even canceled on me one time to see him. She eventually stopped hooking up with him as she and I were spending more time together. It just makes me so angry that she was sleeping with another guy while her and I were sleeping together. My question is, even though she and I were not technically exclusive, is this still a problem? Should I dump her? And if so, do I mention that I know what she did in the first month of our casual relationship? Like, I'm torn because she's really good to me. Thank you in advance for your advice. A couple of terms before we get started. A long-term relationship. This one I think is very important for a lot of guys to understand because they're totally out of whack when it comes to the level of commitment they get. For a lot of guys, they treat casual dating as if it was a marriage from the 1950s. In other words, they overinvest. Some guys will think, yeah, well, we've been dating for 3 weeks. How could she cheat on me? Like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, but there's no promise of fidelity. In fact, even when you're married, there's no real promise of it because there's no consequences for not doing it. And that's where a lot of guys need to kind of get red-pilled and understand what's going on in the world today. So if a married couple can cheat on each other and there's no ramifications, no fault in divorce, well, what makes you think that a 2-week relationship or a 3-week relationship is any different? If anything, you need to understand that commitment is explicitly not given, especially early on in a relationship. A lot of guys do this thing where they talk about their LTRs or their long-term relationships, and then once you dig into the weeds, you find out they've been dating for 2-3 months. I'll lay it out as clearly as I possibly can. Anything short of a year isn't a long-term relationship. It's a short-term relationship. It's casual dating. And if you're expecting anything out of that girl just because she occasionally cooks a meal or helps you clean your house or stays over the night and willing to cuddle you for that night is anything more than just that, well then I got a bridge to sell you because you're in for a world of hurt. Commitment is one of those interesting things. A lot of guys want it, not a lot of guys are willing to earn it. So for the case of this guy right here, he wants commitment from a girl, and all he wants from her is for her to treat him well. There's a guy who goes by the pen name Human Sock Puppet, and he's got a document called the Bitch Management Guide. It's got an edgy name to it, but it's really useful. A lot of guys don't understand what it means to actually be in a committed relationship and what it means by a girl actually treating them well. Most of the time, they'll just think, well, she spends the night a couple times, or we have some sexy times, and that's good enough. Well, not really. In this day and age, a girl putting out is really the bare minimum. Anything beyond that and you're just acquaintances. The point is, if you're seeing her do a lot of things that aren't related to the sexual, in other words, maybe she's cleaning your house when you're gone and maybe she's not snooping when she could have, maybe she does all these things that are aside from that, makes you a macaroni painting, whatever. The point is, you take all of these affectionate but non-sexual signals to use whether you decide to put a girl into the relationship category or keep her in the friends with benefits category. And that's really key. Women need to be categorized in your own life, and this is a solid skill so you can use to prevent yourself from over-investing. In this case, Op is most likely over-investing. And maybe his girl is great, maybe she's not. But the problem is, when you have your blinders on, when your ego is attached to these kind of girls, you're never going to tell if she decides to do something that goes against what your vision of a long-term relationship is. So her commitment is based on what you can observe, not what you want to have there. Values are the other thing that matters in these situations. In this case, the Op is asking what he should do. And I will tell you right now, if you're going online to ask people what you should value, well then you're in for a world of hurt, because you don't want us answering this for you. The Op here has an issue. He's worried that his girl was sleeping around when they aren't really monogamous and not committed to each other, and it bothers him to the point that he doesn't know how to react. And yeah, in this case, it might be an obvious thing where, of course it doesn't matter, neither of you guys were committed at the time, but what happens when this situation comes up on something that's a little more morally ambiguous? You need to have a strong sense of where your values are, otherwise, you're leaving yourself open to manipulation. I mean, in this case, when it's me offering advice to guys like this in early relationships, obviously I like the idea of the guy coming out of it ahead, but I'm well within the minority. Most people really cater to the sensibilities of the women, and can't fault them for it. It's a feature, not a bug in the human condition. But if you're a guy and you're asking for advice and your well-being isn't put at the first and foremost center of that advice, well then you're just asking people to help you light yourself on fire to keep other people warm. My advice for this guy, I mean, there's two types of advice. The first one is what to do about this exact question, and the second one is what to do about the underlying issues that even made him want to ask the question in the first place. As far as what he's supposed to feel about this, well, all he did was he gave no exclusivity and got no exclusivity. Chances are, he wasn't dating multiple girls and this was the only girl he was dating. So had he dated multiple girls, had he had fun times with more than one girl, this stuff wouldn't have bothered him. What bothered him is he made up a covert contract in his own head where he thought, well, as long as we're casually dating, you're going to be the only one I casually date. Not because he wanted to, but because he didn't have a choice. And then he held the girl to this same standard, getting resentful when she didn't live up to it. There is nothing she did in this situation that's outside of the norm of dating. The problem here is his own attitude towards it. And once you flip your switch, once you get that red-pilled idea of observable and pragmatic relationships in your head, these issues go away and you would never even think to ask a question like this. So what's in this one for you as the listener is to understand from your own relationships being deliberate about your intentions and owning them, or not, but just being aware that they're there. If you're dating and you're casually dating and you're not seeing more than one person, well then you're going to fall into this same trap where you assume you've been on 2 dates with a girl and then all of a sudden you got the same commitment as a 1950s housewife. It's just not going to happen. Women have too many options, the thirst is way too real, and the abilities for girls to discreetly get some side pieces is off the charts. Go follow suit. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. I figure a lot of these traditional guys love the Roman Empire. Well, you're living it right now. So what's in it for you? Understand the rules of the game and make sure you're playing by the proper rules, because if you develop your own game of Calvin Ball, nobody else is playing by those rules and you're just going to get resentful when they cheat. An alternative for this guy, I mean, it's straightforward. Date more girls. In fact, for guys who are well before a couple years into a relationship, almost every problem you're going to have can be summed up with this one answer. Just date more girls and the issues go away. Abundance is good. Outcome independence is good. Options are good. Dating multiple girls lets you know what kind of girls have the qualities you look for and which don't. Dating multiple girls lets you know which ones are invested in you and which ones aren't. Dating multiple girls allows you to see what you will and will not put up with. If you're dating 2 girls at once and one of them starts acting a damn fool, well then you obviously know you don't need to put up with that because you have another option. If you don't have another option, these things turn into problems. And guys, we have this innate ability to want to solve problems. Here's the problem with that problem-solving problem. Once you start looking at girls as if they're a problem to solve, you're just becoming Captain Save-A-Ho, jumping aboard the USS Single Mom. That's the ultimate problem that you need to solve with a girl, and most guys think that they have to. I will let you in on a great secret that'll make this alternate scenario better for every one of you. The world's problems are not yours to fix. You are not Atlas, regardless of how many traditional conservatives tell you that you need to save the West from some threat like feminism or, 20-year-old girls with blue hair. Relax. The world is your oyster. We've never lived in a better, more prosperous time, and now is your time to take advantage of that. 5 or 6 generations of men were working in the coal mines, out on the fields for their entire life, so you could have a life of ignoble ease. Don't let their efforts go to waste. On that note, I'm going to leave you guys to it. Hope you appreciate during this pandemic time. Haven't had a chance to see a barber, so I'm looking like Roosh V here with the mountain man look, but the advice is still sound. Patreon is still good. Come on in, check it out. We're still doing our Q&As. We've added enough members that it looks like we're probably going to add a 3rd episode on there, so there's going to be enough content to choke a donkey. Link to my books in the description. If you haven't seen it yet, I got a video that I'm adding right here during the end card. You can see 15 lessons I've learned from 10 years of women. It'll be all the good, all the bad, all the ugly. You're going to see a lot of stories and a lot of examples from my life and other people's life as to how this advice that I'm giving you here came about, and understand that the plight of man isn't so different. But on that note, I'll leave you guys to it. Take care.